Okay, once again, good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to wait for my MDI team here to start their videos so that you can see all of our beautiful faces. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much. We know this is the first week back in school, and we just really appreciate you all carving out a little bit of your time today to join us for the MDI Steps to Administration in schools. Okay, so to begin with, I know most of us are familiar with Zoom. The past year, we've probably been connecting more virtually than face-to-face. So on your screen, you will see these 3 different icons. We really encourage to please use the Q&A function today to type your questions in. It's just going to help us really organize ourselves and make sure that we can answer your questions, or if not, it will give us some time to record your questions and we can follow up with you afterwards, offline after the webinar. Chat is also good to use if you just want to say hi and hello to your fellow attendees or to your panelists here. But for today, because we're a bigger group, we really encourage to please use the Q&A function if you have any questions. And so without any further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Merrick to do the introduction. And one other thing, we're going to make sure that our videos are turned off the rest of the presentation, just to make sure that you have your full screen and you have all the information that you need on your screens.
Thank you, Kim. I am also going to turn this off. I'm going to just do a quick little introduction here for everyone. But before I really do that, I do want to go through, just do our quick land acknowledgement that we are gathered today here, those of us at least here in Vancouver. We would have normally been at UBC, but we are gathered today on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. This is the post that's centrally located on the UBC campus and is carved by the Musqueam artist Brent Sparrow Jr. I have to just be one of those people who had really missed being on campus right now when I see those pictures, but we are, as most of you know, working from home. So thank you so much for joining us today. Just a quick introduction of who we are. I am Merit Gilbert. I am the MDI Implementation Manager, and I am covering this year for Madison Spenrath, who's currently on mat leave and will be back in March. And Maddie and I have actually both been involved with the MDI project since 2013. And now many of you have already met Kim M, as we call her here. She is the MDI lead and your main contact for the project, and has been working on the MDI for the last couple of years as well. And prior to working on the MDI, she worked very closely with Dr. Kim Schoenert-Reichel as her assistant. So she has lots of knowledge about the MDI and SEL. Maria has also joined the MDI team this year, and she previously worked at HELP as our front desk and admin assistant. She is the MDI coordinator and is supporting and fielding any questions that you are typing in to the Q&A box, and I will do the same as we get going on this webinar. I am going to just do a very quick overview of the MDI, and we have a very short agenda. Just going to do a quick little MDI 101, if you will. We realize that there are a lot of you on today, and that you want to really learn more about how to administer the MDI in your classrooms. But we also know there are a lot of you that are new to the MDI this year, so we're just going to give you a very quick background. And then I'm going to hand it off to Kim, who will walk you through MDI steps to MDI administration in schools. And she will give a bit of a live, how to do this. She'll give you a live demonstration. Who are we here at HELP? Just letting you know a little bit about us. We are the Human Early Learning Partnership. It is an interdisciplinary research center at UBC, University of British Columbia. And our vision is that all children should be thriving in healthy societies. I want to thank you all actually for being here today, and all the school administrators and teachers and students for participating in this research. We couldn't do it without you, and by participating, you are all making a significant contribution to our understanding of how to help children and families thrive. I do want to say one more thing. We usually have about 20 to 30 participants on our training webinars. So I have to admit, we are all feeling a little overwhelmed today. We have over 100, I think 170 people on the webinar right now. We probably should have created a few more webinars. I am just it's so heartwarming that you have this enthusiasm for the MDI and for wanting to learn more about the MDI. So thank you so much. But also at the same time, please bear with us as we are realizing that we might not be able to address all your questions as we move forward, but we will try and save them for the end. But like Kim said, please put them in the Q&A, and then we can either get back to you after the webinar or try our best to answer as many as possible today. I hope that's okay. All right, so what is this current context that we are working in? This year has thrown us all for a bit of a loop, but really now is a time like no other for us to be focusing our attention on children's health and well-being. The stress and disruption brought about by COVID-19 are a real concern. All children and families, but particularly those that are more vulnerable, are at risk of experiencing increased challenges. And understanding the short-term influences of COVID-19 is essential, as is collecting data related to the long-term impacts of the pandemic on children and families. And this is where the MDI comes in. MDI provides an opportunity to hear from children themselves about their self-reported well-being and the assets and protective factors in their lives that will be valuable as they navigate through this unprecedented time. And also, there are areas where children might need extra support both now and when things begin to open up again. Okay, so the Middle Years Development Instrument, what is it? It is a self-report survey for children in grades 4 to 8. And the exciting thing this year is this is, in fact, the very first year we are offering the MDI to grades other than 4 and 7. So why focus on grade 4 to grade 8 students? These ages are particularly important in order to be able to prevent problems before they arise. And the time between grade 4 through to grade 8, ages 9 to 13, is a transitional period in the development in which we know there is increased risk, but also increased opportunity to make a difference in children's lives. And yes, you can switch the slide. There we go. The MDI was developed by a UBC research team led by Dr. Kimberly Schoner-Reichel with considerable input from children, parents, teachers, and community groups, including the United Way of the Lower Mainland. Questions were assembled from surveys that had previously been used and validated with children. And previous research has found that responses from children in grade 4 and above are as reliable and valid as responses from adults. We have a number of papers that can demonstrate the validity of the MDI, as we are confident that students are able to accurately report on their experiences through the questionnaire. So the MDI it's important to note that it is a population-based survey. It is not used as an individual diagnostic tool. It really tells us only about groups, neighborhoods, and broader geographic regions. It allows us to see population trends in children's well-being, and it is never used to evaluate teachers or schools. The MDI results that you will receive later in the spring can provide educators, parents, researchers, community organizations, and policymakers with information about the psychological and social worlds of children during middle childhood. So a time period in childhood which we previously didn't have a lot of information about. And this is really the reason the MDI was developed. And by reviewing and sharing MDI results, the opinions and concerns of children are validated, and decision makers are better prepared to move toward actions that will create supportive environments where children can thrive. So the middle childhood is a time of transition. I'm sure all of those who work in schools are very aware of this. Cognitively, children become more self-aware and more aware of others. Socially, children's worlds begin expanding as connections to peers become increasingly important. Academically, children begin receiving grades and face more pressure to succeed. And physically, children are entering puberty. So really what happens during the middle years set children up for how they handle adolescence and adulthood. The MDI looks at the development of the whole child, capturing the holistic development beyond academic achievement. It looks at children in multiple contexts, such as schools, families, neighborhoods, and after school time. And the MDI measures areas of development that are strongly linked to well-being, such as social and emotional development, physical health and well-being, connectedness, school experiences, and the use of after-school time. So this year, it's a very unique year in many, many ways. We have about 27 districts in British Columbia participating with different grades, along with a large portion of independent schools in British Columbia, as well as national sites in Nova Scotia, Ontario, Northwest Territories, and the Yukon. As you can see, up to last year, we had collected almost 140 data on almost 140,000 students. This year, we could potentially collect data on closer to 50,000 students. This will definitely be one of our largest years of data collection. And you're part of a project that has been going on now since 2010. And just again, want to extend my gratitude to all of you for being here with us this afternoon and for being willing to learn more about the MDI. So I am going to quickly hand you over actually to Kim, who is going to give you the more about the how and how to do the MDI in your schools and in your classrooms. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Merit. Okay, so I'm sure this is the part that everyone has been waiting for. Just a quick few slides on really how important privacy and confidentiality is for the MDI. We make sure that this research project is BREB of UBC approved. All the information that we collect is always kept confidential. Parents are always informed. Participation is voluntary, and no child or teacher is ever identified in any of our reporting. One thing that we really put a great emphasis on is participation in this project is voluntary. So this is the same reason why it's very important for us to know that parent letters must be sent home for 4 weeks before we start the survey administration. This gives parents time to absorb and really familiarize themselves with the MDI, to maybe ask questions if they have any, and also to withdraw their child should they wish their child not to participate in this project. So parent letters can be sent home in many different ways, really depending on your school's protocol. So sometimes you can print it out and send it as a hard copy with the students to take home to their parents, or sometimes you can also email this parent letter consent to the parents of your students. And parents and guardians are then given different ways to withdraw their child, and there are 2 ways actually. So number one, they can take out the last section of the parent letter if they have it as a hard copy and sign there and say that they want to withdraw their child. They can return it to the principal or the teacher in the school. And number 2, they can also contact us directly. So they can email us at help.ubc.ca, and we can also withdraw their child from the project. Students are also able to opt out at any time, even while they're completing the survey. So number one thing is when they begin to do the survey, there's an assent script that is read out to the students to make sure that they understand that they can withdraw at any time. And once they're completing the survey, on every page, there is also a withdraw button that the student can click on if they don't want to proceed and do the rest of the questions. So on the topic of parents and parent letters, one great resource that we have in our website is the Parent FAQ page. And this contains all the frequently asked questions that parents might have for you, or even for principals, school administrators, or teachers who will be administering the MDI. If you have any questions about the MDI, this page that we have in our early learning website is a great resource to get those information. All right, so one resource that is number one, easy to follow. Number two, sort of like a checklist so that you can just have one page in front of you when you're thinking about the MDI, is the Survey Administrator Timeline and Checklist. So if you look at the section on January and February, it begins with this training webinar that we're all in right now, and then it has all the steps that you will take in order to administer the MDI in your schools. All right. So MDI administration, I wanted to make this a little bit more really simple and easy to understand. So I am dividing this into 3 different sections. So number one, what are the things that we need to do before the day of MDI administration? And then later on, we'll go into how the actual day of administration looks like for you and what to do after. So for the first section, what do we need to do? How do we prep for the MDI administration? Number one, please make sure that you inform your students about the MDI. Let them know that they're doing the MDI survey on your whatever chosen date that you have decided to do it, just so they can, it sinks in and they can really familiarize themselves about what the MDI is. Number two, we have prepared a few resources and some materials that can really help you in preparing and also in administering the MDI. So these ones have either been emailed to you by your MDI leads, or you can find this in our website. So what are these materials that we're talking about? So number one, the Survey Administrator Checklist that you just saw a few slides ago. We also have the MDI Administration Guide, the Instructional Survey, and within the Administrator Checklist, there is a link there for you to watch a quick MDI introduction video. So all of these things, all of these materials have been emailed to you and also posted in our admin portal. Okay. So we have informed our students that we're doing the MDI. We have downloaded or maybe printed out all the materials that we need. We have our mindset. We know that we're doing the MDI. So what are next, and what are the next steps for you to do? So number one is to receive the password reset email. So this will go onto your school or school district email address. And then log on into the MDI to review the class list and to print your student logins. So I will give you a walkthrough on how this actually looks like. And if you have any questions, Merit and Maria are, I'm sure, looking at the Q&A and trying to already answer a few of the questions there. And if I can just switch my screen here.
While you switch your screen, can I jump in quickly?
Definitely.
We are getting lots of questions, and we will answer them, but one I'm going to just do right now, since we are at the password reset email slide. The question is, when will you receive the link to log in? Hopefully tomorrow morning. That is the plan. And tomorrow morning you will all receive this email that Kim is now going to show you, or most of you will. And if you don't, please be in touch. We will make sure you get it. And then you will be able to log in and you can then start viewing your class list and everything that Kim is now going to show you. But we are hoping, we've been scrambling, I have to say, because there's not been a lot of days since our holiday till now, but we will open the survey or the link tomorrow morning. Okay?
Perfect. All right, can everybody see my screen? Merit, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so when we send the password reset email, you will get it in this format. So it'll come from MDI. It will say UBC e-MDI password reset. All you need to do is click on this email. There will be a link that you just have to click in. Let's create a password. And just click on change. And now you are within the e-MDI system. So the first thing that you will see here is this pop-up window that says MDI informed passive consent. So we have this here at the very beginning when you log in, because we really want to emphasize how important it is to have sent out your parent consent letters to make sure that you count in your calendar that there has been 4 weeks in between when that was sent out and when you start your MDI administration. So just for example, for me, let's say I sent it out December 1, 2020. So once you enter the date, all you need to do is hit submit. And now you'll see this welcome page within the e-MDI system. So the things for you to look at here is number one, on the left-hand side, you will see your navigation panel. So this is labeled for you according to the steps that you need to do. Number two, all of the resources that we just discussed a while ago on the slides can also be downloaded here. So you have the MDI Administration Guide. You also have the instructional survey, as well as the MDI introduction video that I mentioned. They're also all here for you if you need any help or if you need to refresh a little bit on how to look at the class list, or if you need any extra information about the MDI administration. Okay, so let's pretend that I am a teacher in Hogwarts School. So all I need to do, so for you, you will see here the name of your school. You'll just have to make sure that the MIN code and the name of your school are correct. So if there have been any movement within your district, if for example, from maybe December last year up to today, there has been movement with the principals or the teachers, please let us know so that we can make sure that you are linked in your correct classroom so that you can see the correct class lists. So when I click on this, I will see all of the grades and the classrooms that my school is participating in. So for example, I will pretend that I am a grade 4 teacher in classroom number 5. So all I need to do, 2 things in here to prep before MDI administration is to check my class list. So I will click on this classroom, my classroom. And when I log in, I will see all of the students that I have for this year who are all doing the MDI. Now, this is a great chance for you to, number one, maybe gather all the withdrawal slips that have been returned to you for parents who have opted to withdraw their child, or maybe if you have received any email saying they want to withdraw their child, this is the best time for you to do it as you're cleaning up and really updating your class list. So as an example, let's pretend that Malfoy is not participating in the MDI. So all I need to do is click on his name, click on options, withdraw. So now you will see here that there is a drop down so that you can choose the reason why the student is not participating in the MDI. So for example, for me, I got a withdrawal slip And so the parent didn't want their child to participate in the MDI. So I'm just going to click on this and withdraw student. So now when I go back onto my class list, I can see that now Malfoy has been withdrawn. So another way to maybe clean up your class list, and maybe, you have new students in your classroom, two things. You can either, if there's maybe only one or two, you can add them right away here while you're cleaning up your class list. So all you need to do is hit on options, click add student, and then we can add our student. So I'm just going to pretend that this is their pen. So you just enter all of the details. So I'm just going to do something like that. So now I've added Harry Potter to my class. So when I go back into my class list, I can see that he's right over here. So these are the things that we can do while you're reviewing your class list to make sure that they are all up to date, set up, and ready for you to administer the MDI. So as I've mentioned, you have now logged on, you have your new password, you know how to log into e-MDI, you see that you're linked to the correct classroom, you've withdrawn whoever is not participating or doing the MDI, you've added your extra or like the new students in your class list. One other thing that you can do while you're preparing for administration is to go back into the navigation panel on your left-hand side. So we're done with number 1, so now we go to number 2. So you click to unlock survey and print passwords. Find your survey. So as you can see here, if my school, for example, is participating and doing all different grades 4 to 8, then I will see the 2 separate surveys here, the grade 4 and 5 and 6, 7, 8. If, for example, my school is only participating with grade 4, then you will only see one link here that you can click on, which is the 4-5 BC survey. So if I click on this, find your school, Hogwarts School. I am teacher in number 5 classroom. So when you click here, same thing, you will see all of the students in your class, and in the status section here column, you will see who have been withdrawn and who are all set up and ready to do the MDI survey. Now, the important thing to focus on this page are these 3 different buttons that you see on the right-hand side. So in preparing, you want to print your student logins before the day of survey administration. So how do we do that? So number 1, you just click on print student logins. You will see that a new tab will appear. All you need to do is hit print this page, cut the cards so that you can distribute this to the students on the day of MDI administration. So these little cards that you distribute contains all the login credentials that they need in order for them to do the survey. So this is something that you can do ahead of time. All right, so also on this page, if we're preparing, we've printed our student logins, we know who are taking the MDI survey. A few more things for you to do here as a teacher or as a principal or as the survey administrator in your school is also you can preview your survey here so you can follow along with the students what they're seeing when they do the survey. And of course, lastly, most important button here as well is the unlock survey. So why is this important? We've printed out our logins, you've given all the little cards with the login credentials to your students, but your students will not be able to log into the survey if you have not hit the unlock survey button. So this will unlock the survey automatically for you for 4 hours. So what this does is sort of like an extra level of security and privacy, so that if, for example, your students have not finished the survey and you would like to do this, say, at another day or time, you can definitely do so. All you need to do is to log in again. Say, for example, we've unlocked the survey and most of them are only done half. You can definitely just lock this for now and unlock it again when you've scheduled a second session so that they can finish the survey. So those are the three important buttons or that you need for this second part of MDI survey administration. I'm sure there are a lot of questions. Merit, is there anything pressing that you would like to address for now as I switch my slides?
Well, we are getting some good questions. And one is, how long does the survey take for students? And that really depends on the grade that your students are in, obviously, and their reading abilities. So we often tell teachers that for grade 4s to set aside 2 classroom periods. And it's going to be interesting this year because it is the first time we are doing grades 5 and 6. But then we have also told in the past, usually grade 7s take about 1 class period. So you know your students best. I should also mention that, you can review the survey questions. They're public. They have been sent to you, I believe, the survey as an instructional survey. So for you to have an idea what the questions are before you administer is probably a very good idea. And then you will probably have a bit of a sense of how long it will take you to administer the survey.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right. So done with the first section. We have prepared everything that we need before survey administration. So as Merit mentioned, on the day of administration, this might take 1 to 2 class periods. And these are the following steps that we need to do in order to administer the survey to your students. So number 1, unlock the survey. Default is 4 hours. So this is something that I mentioned a while ago. That's the blue button on that second panel on your navigation to the left. Prepare your computer lab and classroom set of mobile tablets for the students to take the survey. Help your students log in. So as I've mentioned, this is the time when you can distribute all of the cards. Sometimes some students might have difficulty looking at the passwords, or maybe, it's a capital letter instead of like a small letter. So this is also a time where you can assist them. Administer the MDI survey to the students. Follow up with the student help requests and complete the feedback form, which is optional. So as I've mentioned, the unlock survey is the blue button that you click on this number 2 on your navigation panel to the left. So you can unlock the survey in order for the students to log in. And as I've mentioned, you can just lock it again if, for example, they don't finish. And you can also unlock it in a different session if they would like to finish the survey. You want to make sure that when they're doing the survey that you are in a test condition or test environment. So we don't want the students to be talking to each other or looking at each other's answers. There is also an optional voiceover on the questions. So if there are headphones available, the students can also use that. And as well, we understand that, as we've mentioned in cleaning up the class list, if there are some students who are not participating or not doing the survey, it's best to prepare a different activity or work for them while the others are doing the survey. Please also make sure that you inform the school counselor that the students are taking part in the survey, just so if the students feel that they would like to discuss something more, then the counselors are there ready to have time with the students to talk to them. So this is how the student login page looks like for the students. As mentioned, they can use the username and the password in the cue cards that you'll be cutting from the e-MDI system. And usually there are no other issues. If you've unlocked the survey, if they are putting in the correct username and password, it'll be easy for them to log in. You can maybe keep this or copy this on your bookmark in your Chrome or Microsoft Edge or whatever browser you're using. So the page is www.mdi.ubc.ca, and that's where the students are going to log in order to get into the survey. Right, so now we are administering the survey. So one resource that I've mentioned a while ago, and it's really important, Merit has mentioned this as well, because this has all the screenshots of all of the questions that the kids are actually answering. So this is the instructional survey, and this is really a guide that you can use to follow along with the students. And if ever they have questions, then you can also see that there are some text boxes that we have included in this guide so that it can help you a little bit on how to answer some questions of the students. We want to make sure that in this instructional survey, please read aloud the assent script. So this is the one that I mentioned a while ago that has everything about privacy and withdrawal, that kids are able to maybe withdraw in the middle of the survey if they don't want to finish the survey, that all of their answers are confidential and private, that they can skip questions even if they feel like they don't want to answer some of the questions in the survey. Please also read the demographics questions and instruction section out loud. As I've mentioned, the text boxes there are they are there to help you throughout your survey administration. This is something that you also saw in the preview a while ago. This assent cartoon is really, we found it last year that a lot of the students and the kids really love it, but more importantly, really the message here is for them to understand that, number one, that this is not a test, that they don't have any right or wrong answers here, that we keep it private, and really important that it's their choice if they want to fill out the survey. So just a few tips when you're doing the MDI, please remain neutral. If a student asks for any clarification, best to just reread the question to them. And to, of course, protect the student's privacy, please, as I've mentioned, make sure that it's test conditions or environment and that students are not looking at each other's responses. At the very end of the survey, when the students are done, we want to make sure that the students are able to really ask for help or assistance or request if they would like to talk to a counselor or a teacher, if there are any questions that maybe stood out for them or that they want to talk through. So at the very end, we have this Help for Student page. And when they click, yes, I would like to talk to my teacher or principal about the problem that I'm having, you will get an email. The principal or the teacher will get an email, and we encourage to please follow your school's protocol on how to follow up with the students. So the email will look something like this. So there's no need for you to inform us, the MDI team, if ever you've received this email. As mentioned, please just follow your school's protocol on how to follow up with the student. All right, so we have prepped for the MDI. We have administered the MDI. After the administration, so we really encourage to please fill in our optional feedback form. It really helps us either to get feedback from you, to make things easier or better, to know if the resources are working for you, and how to improve the administration better and easier for everybody. I know even though it's only 3 parts or portions, that it's a lot to absorb. So we've made sure that there's a little bit of time at the end for questions, but I know Merit and Maria, you guys have already started answering some of them.
Yes, we have been very busy. There has been so many great questions. I am amazed. And I hope we have been able to answer some of them. I don't know if everybody can see all the questions. That's actually kind of, I'm a bit curious to that. We have, so I'm going to just cover a couple of things that I've just seen flying in. One is, can we view the questionnaire? Of course you can. I think it should have been sent to you as an instructional survey, but if not, you can also find it on our website. And I don't know if I just typed this link into this box, if you will all see it. But we can certainly follow up with all of you with the links to where you can find our questionnaires. That's one question that's come a lot. Another one that we've had a lot of, or a few of, is whether or not you can do the survey with your online students or students who are remote learners. This is something that we have worked on a lot to try and get ready because of this year being what it is, and there are more remote learners than has been in the past. I think it's important to remember that the MDI is really created for classroom administration. So this is not something where we want students to sit at home by themselves filling it out. This is really created to be done at school with a teacher supporting the students, helping them, maybe even reading the questions out loud if that's needed, or if you know your students best, so you would know what to do. So it's not really created for at home in that sense, but what we have decided this year, because we've heard from many that really want to capture how the remote learners are doing and want data on those students, or at least have that data included in your school data. There is a way to do this as long as it's done by a teacher in an online setting. So we have information on that. Please email us and we can send you the information. But we really would ask that that happens in a classroom setting. And so very similar to having the students all in front of you, you would administer and read out the questions and help students or support students as they go through the survey. I hope that answers that question. We are going to continue here. I don't know what time are we. We can stay on and certainly answer more questions, and I can go through this list, or we can email your answers as well. But Kim, do you want to talk about our quick fix?
Yes. So if there are any more questions, especially like during the implementation time, we're planning to be available on Zoom one day, probably next week or in the next few weeks, and we'll be in touch with an email with the Zoom link. So we'll probably have, say, an hour on a Wednesday, in the middle of the workday, so that you can just hop on and ask questions, and we can show you the same thing. We can do walkthroughs, and we can provide you with more information. But of course, it's hard for me to really put on the link here. So I will email you all with a Zoom link and the time and the schedule, so that you can also put it in your calendar.
And I just realized I might have typed very fast as the questions were flying in here. The administration window, just to be clear, it opens on Monday, January 11th. I might have typed February 11th. That was just my fault. January 11th, it opens. It is open till March 5th. We've
Correct.
extended it. It used to be a month. We are trying to give schools more time this year. Another question. Do you want me just to keep going? I'm happy to go through my list here.
Yes, go ahead.
The survey is confidential. The school and the data is not on individual children. Remember, this is a population-based survey. So when you get data on your classroom, it will be data, there won't be any names. You cannot drill down to individual data. It is, it's how kids are doing in your school based on population data. So you will not find out about specific children. But you would, for example, know, so the question is if you would find out if a specific child reports that they don't think any adult in the school is important to them, you won't know who that is, but you will have, you might see that maybe 30% of the children in your school don't have don't feel that they have connectedness to adult in your school. Or, I'm just throwing numbers out there, but, that's the kind of data you will get. And we have, if you email us, we can share, a sample school report. So you have an idea of what it is you will get when we get to sometime in April, when we will have your school reports ready. And those school reports are not public. They will be available on our e-system. And you have to log in. Principals can log in to retrieve their reports there. And then you can decide, hopefully you will feel free to share them with your teachers and parents, if you will. But they're not for public to view. I'm just reading. If there are more questions, now's the time to type them in.
So I just saw one question. Is there no paper version of the survey? So the survey is only done through the e-MDI website. So yes, there are no paper version of the survey.
Oh, is there a helpline? Yes, that's us. Maybe the next screen, we have our phone number.
Right.
And our email address. Okay, so this is, there we go. We love hearing from you. So call us, email us. We will answer. And I think there is a slide with our phone number, and there we go. So the best email is the mdi@help.ubc.ca. I'll tell you why. It goes to all three of us. So somebody will likely get back to you quickly. You can also see our phone numbers here, so feel free to call us. We are also on the phone for that. We are your help and support for the next, however long we are in implementation, 6 weeks. And we can help you unlock surveys. We can help you move students. We can really support you. We really try and be helpful. And when you're standing there in your classroom and scrambling, so don't hesitate to be in touch. Oh, good question. iPads. I was going to get to this. Yes.
Right.
Can students use iPads to complete the survey? Yes, they can. They can use iPads, Chromebook, desktop, all of those, totally fine. It's great. We have had a question whether or not it will work on phones. And it's doable, but it's not ideal. So I'm just going to say that it's not created for such a small screen, and unfortunately, that is something we need to work on now that we are entering secondary schools. We are realizing that. So it does work, but it would be very easy for students to miss questions. It's mostly click radio buttons and checklists and Likert scales, but it's just not created for such a small screen.
Mm-hmm.
Another question, can I have a group of various grades work on the survey at the same time? I guess you could. And here's the trick. The grade 4 and 5 survey is shorter and a bit different than the grades 6, 7, and 8 survey. So ideally, if you're going to do that, if your district are doing more grades or your school is doing more grades, it would be probably best to do the grade 4s and 5s at the same time, and then 6, 7, 8 at the same time, just because then they're working on the same questionnaire and the same questions. There's a few, the grade 4 or 5 survey has 77 questions, and the grade 6, 7, 8 survey has 101 questions. Somebody is doing the survey at 8:45 on Monday. Will I be able to access the admin page tomorrow? Bree, please be in touch with us just so we know. I can't tell what where you're emailing from. So why don't you send us an email after this webinar, and we will help you.
I also see one question asking, can you read the questions to the students? Yes, you can, but we also have the voiceover function for all of the questions. So as long as the students have headsets or headphones, when they click on that icon, that is automatically read to them. So it might help make things easier.
Yes, I mean, I should tell you that in the past, and what we actually recommend, especially we have over the years for grade 4 students, is that if you can, read along the survey with them. There is a preview function that is in our system where you can, I've been to many, observed many administrations of the MDI, and very often teachers will put this on a screen and go through the survey one question by one question with all their students. Of course, there are students that will rush ahead a little bit, but I've seen, yeah, she's going to show you, I've seen teachers really make sure that students stay on track and follow along. So yes, you can totally read along with your students. And I think it's very important. We actually ask that teachers read aloud the first part of the survey, which is the assent script, because it's really important that students understand the assent, and that they understand that they don't, that they can skip questions, and that they can stop doing the survey if they don't want to do it anymore. And the first questions on the survey, what we call the demographic questions, can be a little bit tricky, and students often, especially the younger ones, will have some questions. So if you can support them through the demographic questions, that is really appreciated, and then most kids are okay to continue onwards. But obviously, like I said, you know your students best, you know their reading level, because it is a lot of reading. But you can see here, there's this little icon, which indicates that they can be read to them, and they can click on that icon, as long as it's easier if they have headphones, obviously, and then have the questions read to them at their own pace. So I hope that's helpful. Another question was, how soon will you get the report? Well, the report will come, I think it's end of April that we have, end of April.
Yes, the school
reports will be ready. And then for those of you who are school districts, your district report will then come end of May. And the school district reports are public reports that will be on our website. And it's a summary of all the districts that participated in BC, for sure, and as well national sites, we email them to you and you will have them. But in BC, they are public reports that will be up on our website. I'm just scrolling through the questions to see if there's anything else that's really pressing. Oh, repeat the number of questions, grade 4, 77. I think we will stay on for a bit longer, but feel free to contact us if you have questions that pop up, and we will email you a link to our little office hours next week in case that once you have been able to log in, you have new questions for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And also, this webinar has been recorded, so I will make sure to send everyone a link to our YouTube channel by tomorrow afternoon. And yes, we'll also make sure that the slides are available for you to download, and we'll also share a link for that. Thank you so much, everyone. We're keeping track of the questions that are still coming in. As mentioned, best way to get to us would be our email, mdi@help.ubc.ca. We'll make sure to send you a link to the recording of this webinar. Thank you so much for being with us today, and Happy New Year.